Hello and welcome to this highlights video that we've produced where we've taken the presentation and questions and the points raised from the webinar that we hosted the other night just to condense it down to try and get that information across as precisely and easily for you to follow as possible. So a bit of background information. Scalextric4Schools is a STEM competition where we look to engage students in design technology engineering through Scalextrics. The main components are the competition, and the tagline for it has always been design, make and race. So students use any CAD software to design and create their slot cars. They can then manufacture them using 3D printing, CNC machining, vacuum forming, laser cutting, working with hand tools. It doesn't really matter on the manufacturing. And then once they've got them up and running, they can race them on their tracks in schools, do all the testing and that side of things, and then we come together for a national competition which this year was held on the 17th of June at the Silverstone Museum, where the teams competed to find out who had the best car, the best design car, the fastest car, and then prizes were given accordingly. So with the competition, we have a number of prizes and awards up for grabs. So we have the overall winners, which is based on how they perform on the track. So the fastest lap times and race times are taken into account. They then would produce a video and a pit area. We've got more information on them coming up. And then we have the best design car thing. Now the best design car does have its separate award and prizes for that, so there will be a separate award for the best design car. This is based on a Le Mans theme for 2025, but the marks that are rewarded for that will go into the to make up the overall winners marks. Alongside the overall winners, we have some separate competitions. So we're looking to introduce the Boxford Blast next year, which is drag racing. So we're in discussions with a company who will actually provide us with a track and do that all on the day, and we will be able to have two cars racing against each other to find out which car is the fastest. Now with that competition, the rules are still being finalised and written. The idea being that you could use the car that you produced for the main competition, or you could produce a car specifically for the drag strip. We then have a individual award, which is an individual student award, where we're looking for somebody who incorporates the whole spirit of Scalextric4Schools, so shows teamwork, leadership, and that side of the things. We've had a recent contact from a new sponsor who specialise in designing tracks, scenery, advertisement boards and that, and they're looking to come on board. So there is going to be an option where not only can you design the cars, but you could design a bit of scenery, a diorama or something like that, which will go into it and be awarded. So that links also back into that pit area display idea of things. We're then going to have a rookie team of the year. So in the previous years, we've had teams running with and without magnets, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. But we are just going to try and simplify the competition, just have one main competition for the overall winners. But if you're competing in your first year initially, we might extend it to the first 2 years as the competition gets bigger. But for teams just taking part in their first year, the best performing rookie team, they're going to be looking to win a prize as well. So the main championship, you've got the videos. So we're going to ask teams to present a 3-minute video before the main final, so we don't have to worry about presentations and that running in during the day and taking up valuable time when teams need to be on track and things. So we're looking to have them submitted 2 weeks before, along with a render and engineering drawing and design. The renders and engineering drawings of the design will also help to get some of the pre-judging done for the best design cars. On the day, teams will have to register their fastest lap time and race time. We're probably going to split them into a morning session on one track, afternoon on the other. With the races, just to look at evening things up, we will have some teams who may wish to run magnetless and others who choose to run with a magnet. If a team chooses to run with a magnet, we will work out a penalty per lap. So what we'll do is we'll put one of the cars on the track with a magnet. We'll run that using the software on it to get a pace time over, say, 25 laps and find out what the average lap speed it will produce with a magnet. We'll then go in and take the magnet off and repeat that process. And we'll probably do that with 3 or 4 cars and then work out what the average time is. Based on 2024, the average time difference was between 1.5 and 2 seconds per lap. So that will all get added into the Excel spreadsheet and we'll work that out automatically. So if you're a team running with a magnet, there will be a time penalty added to your races. The pit lane or pit area, so create your own corporate identity, so t-shirts with sponsors and things on. It could be the dioramas, it could be advertisements, it can be display boards. It's really an open book on that one. It's how you want to present yourself as a team. When the judges come around, they'll be looking at the displays. They'll be looking also about how tidy it is, how well presented it is, how you're working as a team throughout things. If there's any problems and cars need repairing, are you set up for that? So as we just covered the races, teams can choose to race with or without a magnet, and there will be a time penalty applied. There's 2 nearly identical tracks, so we can spread them out, and when your times go in and that are taken to the timekeepers and things, it all automatically works out the average time across the 2. So we don't need to worry about anything like that. It's just a case of making sure the teams know they can, once they've done their run, if they want to improve it, they can rejoin the queue and have another go and keep tinkering with the car or tuning with the car, going back to the pits, doing a little bit more work on it and trying these things out. What we would suggest is that you do get your cars running before the event. We've got a little bit on tuning cars coming up shortly, so we'll talk more about that then. The pit lane, again, we've covered this. There's some examples here. There's things we didn't even think about in the competition. So the idea of the diorama that was brought in by one of the schools this year, the judges really like that. We've got pictures there of the cars being set out. We've got display boards going up. We've got somebody working on a car and things. So all these are the things that the judges are looking for. How well do you run as a team? And that will be judged in the pit lane. Now, all the things for the main competition, we will publish the mark schemes for how the judges are awarding marks, so you get some idea of that beforehand. So they will be added to the rules, which we're hoping to have everything ready for a launch in September. The rules that are on the website at the moment are based on this year. There will not be a lot of difference between some of the aspects. Obviously, things like the video, where it was a presentation, that will need to change. But the main dimensions on the car and the parts, etc., the advanced rules will have the things like what you can change and things. So if you look at the advanced and beginner rules, the main difference there is the magnets. So it's just that choice of if you wish to run with magnets or not. The designs, so students design their cars using any CAD program. We've got tutorials on YouTube for Onshape and Creo. PTC, who own Onshape and Creo, were original sponsors. We are in discussions with them at the moment about bringing that back. They are willing to offer support and advice and things, particularly if you go to Onshape and search the public areas. You can get chassis, car bodies that have already been produced. We've got downloads available on the website. Over the summer, we are looking to increase our tutorials, and we've had offers from people to do SolidWorks, Autodesk Fusion and Tinkercad. So if there is people out there who are brilliant on these programs and wish to help us set up a tutorial or something, that's great. If there's any software you want us to try and get a tutorial sorted for, we can also look at doing that. So just drop us an email, drop us a message or something, and we can look at that. There are lots of files in the Facebook page. There's some on the website. As a suggestion, I would always try and start with one of the original blank blocks, because the dimensions and things are on there. So that's just, so that way, just that picture there, and above me there's the picture of the chassis and things. So they're all there available for you. The tutorials really explain how we design our cars. So the idea of putting in an image in the background, tracing around them parts of it, trying to keep it as simple as possible. When we run our masterclasses as part of the Chester Schools Together program, we aim to get a car designed in about 4 hours. That's with breaks and things for the pupils being in for the morning session. So we've got it quite down to an art how we can get a quick card designed on things like Onshape and Creo. So have a look at the tutorials on YouTube if you're getting stuck, or again, drop us a message. Once the car bodies have been designed, you're obviously going to then go and 3D print them. So as we go through this bit, we are going to flick off of this tutorial. One of the things that was a bit difficult to do on the webinar was then try and show other things. So we're going to set up a camera separately, and we're just cutting to that to explain the things. The car bodies can be manufactured in the following way. So we've got 3D printing, CNC machining, vac forming, hand tools and things on there. So there's examples in the pictures there of all them different ways. Currently, parts are available from Sandbach slot cars. There's a link on the website, there's a link on the Facebook page. I have got another company that's interested in producing parts as well, so hopefully we can get that sorted over the summer, ready for next year's competition. Once you've obviously 3D printed your parts and removed all your support material, you are then going to have to think about how you want to finish them. So part of the rules talk about the idea of applying the stickers and logos of the sponsors. So we suggest painting the car bodies. So what we tend to do is use a high build primer. In a minute we'll go over to the video of this actually happening, but I'll just talk it through time it's on the screen, and then we can show you the video and we'll show you how we apply the water slide transfers in that. So high build primer works really well. It seals any gaps and things. Let it dry, sand it back down. We normally get the bright orange from Halfords so we can clear it. We also tend to print our cars in white PLA. White seems to be one of the better materials, that it doesn't shrink as much or curl up and things like that between prints. So we get consistent results about that. Also about the orientation, you put your car in the printer. We tend to do ours flat, so the base of the car is flat to the printer bed, and then we do use a raft, and we actually increase the height of the raft. So we set the model about 3 to 5 millimeters above the raft, just as a layer of support material in there. It just stops any edges curling up. So if it does decide to curl up or anything, or come from away from the bed on a long print, having that 3 to 5 millimeters gap there at the bottom does stop any deformalities to the base of the car and things. We have printed them where we stand them up. It is a quicker way of printing the cars. So basically the rear of the car is the part that's adhered to the bed. We tended to get more failures if we had them, and when I say more failures, we had very few, but we did get failures that way. They could fall over or shift mid-print, which can sometimes happen. But the other thing we noticed was that they were more susceptible to damage because of the way that the layers of the 3D printer prints. The front end, and that, if they took a heavy impact, did tend to snap because there was a weakness along that part. So right now we'll just go over to the other video and we'll just talk to you about applying water slide transfers and things. So just before we talk about 3D printed cars, which do seem to be the norm, you do have the option to vacuum form them. So the mould there in the green was CNC machined on the Boxford router and given a lightly sanding down, and then we just took a piece of hips and vacuum formed over the top of it. Slightly more trickier to attach vacuum formed bodies to chassis and things, but they are much lighter, and it's maybe an option for using on the drag strip idea, but you can get quite a good level of detail on there. Water slide transfers go straight onto this material, don't seem to have too much of an issue with them, but you do then need to spray with a clear lacquer over the top. That brings us on to our 3D printed models. So this is the way we tend to print them, with a bit of a raft if need be. We can also print them. I have to bring my camera out to show you that way, but we do also sometimes print them that way up. But you do get the layers of weakness in the car body there if it takes a front-on impact of things. So we tend to stick to our cars being printed that way. Water slide transfers will not stick directly to PLA. That's why we have to go through the process of printing them. printing them, or should I say painting them. So the first thing we do is put some high build primer on there. You see the pupils on this one, it has slightly split, but that'll be fine, because then what we will do is get the wet and dry paper out and take that down as flat as possible, mirror finish, filling in all the lines there, so it's ready to paint. When we paint them, we then always paint our cars white. It helps for the logos to stand up if it's a competition car. This was one of the cars that was produced in our Chester Schools Together programme. Its sister car here was a development of it, which eventually went through to the finals. This has got the water slide transfers applied to it, but with that we had to print them in black to get them to stand out. The water slide transfers either come white, so you have a white background on them, or clear. We tend to use the clear ones, so when we're doing things like this, you can get the logos on there. We use the white ones. You can do different things. So the water slide transfers, they come on an A3 sheet. They're about £10 for a pack of 10. So there's some of the sponsors' logos. We've also done things like stripes like that you can put on there. I've got a PDS Vision one, which I'm just going to use in a moment just to show you. So they're really simple. You get some cold water in there, and we just pop the transfer in there, and we just leave that for a couple of minutes. So I'm just going to take this car and I'm going to put PDS Vision somewhere across the front here, probably, just to show you. So the car's there, make sure it's nice and clean. Once you've applied the logos, don't touch them. They probably take an hour or so to fully dry out. I've done it before. I put a logo on this side, I've gone around to the other side, you can see it perfectly on there. Your finger touches it, it moves. They are fragile, okay? So you do need to be careful with them when you're using them. I let them dry for at least an hour. If I'm doing a lot of them, I will probably also get the pupils to spray clear coat over the top, just to seal them in before you move to the other side of the car. So we take that out. Let's just see if this one's ready. So yep, that's how quick they come. What I tend to do is just slide it on the backing paper there, so it starts to slide off. Make sure it doesn't fold over on itself, and then we can just pull that, and then time it's still wet. If need be, take a little bit of water on your fingers if you just want to straighten it out and get anything out of there, and then just leave it. Don't do anything with that for a good hour. Let all the water dry out and then spray over it with clear coat. So that's the cars, that's how we paint them. Again, with your assemblies and things, make sure you put some oil on your gears and your parts in here if it needs it. A little bit of super glue to keep things going. I don't know if you can see them, but you can see already how dirty hopefully the tyres are on them. So even giving them a rub with your finger with a little bit of water on just cleans them up enough that it will make a significant difference if I compare it to one that's maybe slightly dirtier. Maybe the front there, the front tyre there to the back tyre there. I hope that's been helpful. Thanks for watching this part. Right, so hopefully that video was helpful on just applying the water slide transfers and the types of things you can get with them. The other things we need to look at is the car setup. So we found that using tyre wheel weights works really well. We got them off Amazon. They're a couple of pounds. They've got a self-adhesive backing to them, so you can pretty much stick them anywhere, making sure you're getting enough weight over the drive axle, particularly when you're using a track that's got different gradients and things. It does really help. Ensuring your gears and wheels are tightly fitting. We've had cases before of wheels and gears slipping during races, so normally a cocktail stick with a little blob of super glue on the end, just applied around the base of the gear or wheel where it joins the axle, that normally works well enough. Just be careful with it. If you do it just about right, so it's a little pin drop on there, You can then remove the parts if needed, or give them a quick wipe with a bit of acetone around there, and that will just clean that off again. Again, when you come to run your cars, just like in the real Formula One racing, clean tyres. Clean tyres make a lot of a difference. If your tyres are dirty, you're instantly going to lose grip. Along with the clean tyres, keep your tracks clean if you're testing them. I know that's really hard in DT workshops with all the dust and things, but do give them a wipe down, or a spray with WD-40 even works. We spray our track every now and again with WD-40. It makes sure you don't get any tarnishing on your rails and things, so no rust build up or anything like that. Just a microfiber cloth, give it a quick wipe over. You'll be surprised how much dirt it picks up. You'll also see if you run a car for 5, 6, 10 laps, the tyres will get dirty, so give them a clean 3-in-1 oil, WD-40. Sounds really odd, but oil does clean the tyres pretty well. Again, lubrication of moving parts, 3-in-1 oil just helps. Keeping your guide blades and contacts, they need to be kept clean. If they get too worn, performance will suffer. If they're running on a dirty track, you will get a build-up of dirt, dust, bits of grime in there, which will affect performance. Okay, so racing the track for the finals, there is a picture of it there. Just above my head, you'll see there's a little extra bit. I've got to work out which hand it is, so it's that bit there, just up there. When we designed it on the software says the track's absolutely perfect. When you come to put it together, you do realise that I think it's a quarter track piece of track is needed just to slot in there. Most of the parts come from standard sets. We tried to keep it that way so it was easier for teams to use. The only real parts we had to buy in were the quarter straights and the hairpin. So the idea of the tracks is we'd like to keep the track for 2 or 3 years the same, which allows you as schools to actually build your own versions of it, with or without the crossover. If you look on the Facebook page, there is a better photograph of this, and in red I've put the heights of the track at different points so you can try and get that. We'll go and do a little video in a second of the actual track, and we'll talk about the expanding foam and things that we've used to do that. We've already talked about keeping it clean. Sport or classic track is fine to use. The Sport was produced from 2000 onwards. It probably is slightly better nowadays, with the slot guides and things. Timing, we use the Arc Power Base. It is a bit of extra money, but it allows you to then have wireless controllers. Again, we'll show you this in a video, and it works off an iPad, so you can use the iPad to control it. One of the beautiful things about the iPad is you can set the power on the track. So on the finals, we put the power to 100%, but if your team's starting out and they're getting used to driving, you can take that power down to 50%, 75%. So they're just not throwing the car off all the time, and then build that up. Okay, so here we have one of our Scalextric4Schools tracks. This was the original one we built. It will be getting taken apart over the summer into October to be rebuilt. It hasn't 100% survived its journey down to Silverstone and back in the back of the van, so we've got a few little changes we want to make on it. So we'll start here. We've got the Arc Air Power Base. So this was an additional piece that we bought from Scalextric. So the idea of this is it works with an app, a mobile phone, tablet. So you have wireless controllers. So you have a wireless controller there. So there's no wires to get in the way when the pupils are using it. You just turn it on at the top there. There'll be a little red light comes up, and it works via this 2 tracks. What you can do, the only thing you have to watch with is if this button there, or light I should say, goes red, it basically means you've got a short circuit on the track, so you have to turn it off, unplug it and re-plug it in. Now the really good thing about this is that we can then use it with an iPad. So just on there we can go into our settings, so we can do a quick race. You get the option to set the driver. If we go into the settings there, you can see that we've got how many laps they want to do and things. We can also change under driver setup who the driver is, how many drivers you want to go, and then when you do, you just press start race. That will count down, and then it gives us a lap time. Just looking there, you've got the lap time, clicking on there, it tells you how many laps they've done. It gives you their best and fastest time and their current lap time, and all it does is it just records on the sensors here as a car passes over. So that's what we use for the track, for the timing. We've also slightly redesigned the bridge piece there, so we've done that in 2D design. We'll make that file available for you there. So when it comes to the track, the majority of this is just expanding foam, and then we've used some cardboard boxes in places to get the heights right. When you're doing the expanding foam, if you get a squirt bottle with some water, you can spray it on there. It just harden up this surface a bit more quicker. The only thing with the expanding foam is it's not an exact science. So it's when we say we've put a rough idea of the heights on there, so you get a roughly the same track. We've done 2 tracks. The pieces are all the same. We've tried to get them as close as possible, but you're always going to get a slight discrepancy with that. When you do this, put this foam down, make sure between the foam and the track you put something so you avoid any foam going up or blocking any of these connectors on the back of the track. I'll just talk about something else on the back of the track in a moment. So what we tended to do was, the first time we did it, we got black bags, cut them, laid them in between the track and the foam and let the foam expand, and then we just peeled off the bags. When we did the other track next door, we just got one big dust sheet, put that over the whole thing, stapled it down in a few places, and then sprayed the foam and just let it expand up, and we could push in bits of it as we wanted. So that's a really good way to help it. When it comes to just looking at the track, a little bit of track maintenance here. On the back here, you've got these little tabs and connections. If your track is loose, it is always worth getting a small screwdriver and just pressing down on these parts here, and that will just help to ensure there's a connection there. Also making sure these tongue pieces are properly connected. If you're still having problems, Pendle Slot Car, I'm going to name drop, they do what they call these power boosters. So they're just thin pieces of aluminium. So where you've got to join in your track, you take one of these track booster pieces, and if I try and do it on the top there, you can't see on the top there, let's do it on this bottom one. It just gets tucked in, a little bit fiddly. A small slotted screwdriver is normally quite useful to push these in with, rather than doing it with your bare fingers. So hopefully you can now see just here, that piece has just gone in. It's hardly noticeable. I would just get a small screwdriver and just push it down as far as you can go, so the car doesn't deslot as part of that. So that's another thing you can do if you've got any slight problems with the track. I think that's everything on the track, apart from we then just painted it with normal acrylic paints, and for the grass effect parts of it, we got a flocky machine off Amazon. I think it's about £30, and it just gives you this nice grass effect there. So I think that's all to do with the track. Now when it comes to help and support, we've obviously got the Scalextric4Schools.com website. There will be work being done over the summer on that, so from September that will all be updated. So if there's things missing, please bear with us till we get them things done. Over the summer, the Facebook group is probably the best place to ask your questions and that, just time we get everything set up on the website. Scalextric, they have their own community boards on their website, so you can go and look on there. There's hints and tips and things on car tuning, track setup, how to improve it. There's also a couple of YouTube people you can stand out for. So Track Fans TV do a weekly podcast online. They look at cars and reviews and things like that. There's lots of people you can go and help in the community, and other Facebook groups, of course. So hopefully that was helpful. If you've got any questions, Facebook group, drop us an email at info@scalextric4schools.com, and we'll hopefully be able to get back to you as quickly as possible. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this. We really appreciate you all taking part, and without you we wouldn't have a competition, so it'd be great to see as many of you taking part this year. Thanks again.